Hi everyone, this video is part of Windows Server 2019 tutorials, and I wanted to share with you on how to add Active Directory service and how to configure DNS and DHCP for user in a virtual network environment. Just a side note, this video doesn't include installing Windows Server or Windows 10 operating system. To install Active Directory domain service, first of all, we're gonna need to add roles and features in the server manager's dashboard. So select a server from the server pool. We already have a server created already when we installed the Windows Server 2019, and click next. Then when we select the roles, we have different options such as Active Directory, Certificate Service, Federation Service, Lightweight Service, and etc. So what we have to do is just select the Active Directory domain service from the top, the second option. To add features, here we don't need to select any extra features for the Active Directory service. We just click next and install. Once the installation is complete, you'll see ADDS on the top left corner. Under the dashboard, the Active Directory domain service is already installed. Once go to the notification flag on the top right corner of your screen, and you see a post deployment configuration. So click on the first option to promote the server to a domain controller. Then you will need to select add a new forest to specify the domain name and information. So I'm just gonna name tech.com. You can name the domain whatever you want, but that's gonna be associated with the things that we'll be doing later. Click next and it will proceed with the configuration. And the next step is to select the functional level of the new forest and the root domain, and we're not gonna change anything. I will just keep it as the default Windows Server 2016, and it'll ask you about the password. Hit next after you enter the passwords, and the DNS service delegation, that's what we have to choose. And it say there's no place for DNS. DNS server cannot be created because the authority's parent zone cannot be found. So we just create a DNS delegation right now. Click on the create DNS delegation and hit next. And the next step is to verify the NetBIOS name assigned to the domain and change it if you want. But the NetBIOS name, just keep it like that, and it's already populated. It's gonna create a database for Active Directory log files and system volumes. I'll keep the location of the folder the same to review what we have done and hit next. So there's a prerequisites check to ensure this machine can support its role as a domain controller. So everything passed. So after it's verifying the prerequisites, then you can just click install, and then you will be signed out and the system will reboot itself. Like after login back in as an administrator, you can see that we have Active Directory installation along with DNS on the left hand corner, and is promoted to a domain. So let's verify the DNS first. Go to the top right corner, tools. Under the tools, you select the DNS. However, there's a lack of primary reverse lookup zone. So this lack of pointer will be a problem if this DNS server is going to be used. select a new zone, click next for the primary zone. Now we have to select how we want the DNS data to be replicated to the network. So we'll select the second option, which is to all DNS servers running on domain controller in this domain, because we plan to add another domain controller, which is a good practice for redundancy in case anything fails. And then we hit next and finish. Let's verify after we did the reverse lookup zone. We just check if anything was good. Let's fix the pointer record by going to the properties and check on the update associated pointer record. We can hit apply. So our DNS is just good to go. So we finished with the Active Directory and then DNS. So the next part is installing the DHCP to assign IP addresses to the client PC. Select the DHCP server and the roles to install on the server. So hit next. For the features, I will skip and hit install. This is a pretty simple process. DHCP server. So once the installation is complete, we're going to have to configure the DHCP server. As you can see at the top right corner in the post deployment configuration, so we'll have to specify the credential as a tag /administrator. Once you commit and close, so DHCP configuration for the post one is done. So to build the scope for the DHCP, there you go to IPv4, right click on to add the new scope. So let's name the scope the name Office 1. Then we have to give the range of IP addresses that this DHCP will hand out to clients. Put start address as 192.168.1.50 with the end address with 192.168.1.200. I'll skip the exclusion and delete the excluded addresses that the DHCP server to assign. For the list duration, the default is 8 days, but you can modify the list duration, or if you want to keep it as is, you can hit next. So it will ask you about the confirmations. Do you want to configure the DHCP option? So click on yes and hit next. Next one is a default router, or the default gateway, so to be distributed by this DHCP scope. So I'll say 192.168.1.250 domain that we created as a parent domain, tech.com. So IP address of our server is 192.168.1.120. Now the scope is activated. Now we can go back to DHCP and then click refresh to see the scope that we just made is good. Check under the folder of address pool. You can see the start IP addresses and then end IP addresses. So these are the addresses range for the distribution. Under the reservations folder, we didn't reserve any IP addresses, so it's blank, empty. After we log into client PCs, which I already installed on my virtual machine, we just go to Ethernet adapter settings to see if the adapter is configured to update the IP addresses automatically, which is for DHCP. Normally I go to properties and click on the IPv4s and click on properties and verify joining the client this PC to the domain, which is tech.com. We go to settings, system, we can click on change, and you can rename the computer as PC1 and a member of tech.com domain. So once you click OK, it will ask you about the username and the password of the administrator account of the server, the domain controller, and it will force the PC to restart to take into effect. Now we can go back to the server manager and the DHCP, and you'll see a scope that we just created being active and handing out the IP addresses to my PC on the Windows 10. So the DHCP server is functioning with the scope that we set it up earlier. So let's click on address leases folder to see any client PC names and their IP addresses along with the lease expiration date and time. Now the IP address is 192.168.1.50 and 51. Let's type ipconfig/all. So yes, the IPv4 address that we just got for this PC, a subnet max the same, the lease obtained, the lease expire for 8 days, and DHCP server address, DNS server address, etc. So this PC is now part of the domain controller and getting the IP addresses from the DHCP server. If you want to confirm the Active Directory domains of the user and computers, you'll see a PC1, the name. There you have an option to add to a group, a disable account, a reset account, and stuff like that. And then you can see properties, the general, the operating system, which is what is running, and the member of the domain. So in summary, we just did install Active Directory along with DNS service, then add the user to the domain, and then configure the DHCP server to assign the IP addresses. So next video I'll try to do organizational units, user, and groups. Thanks for watching this video. Bye for now, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.